on this episode of Buffalo Paranormal. Buffalo Central Terminal. This historic building opened its doors in 1929 and served as the main hub for trains until its demise in 1979. Buffalo-Niagara Paranormal Society participated in a public ghost hunt so that we may see areas of this historic building that we have not seen before, such as Anthony Fideli's apartment located on the second floor, who owned this building from 1979 until 1986.
Right now, we are currently
This event was brought to you by the good people of Beyond Ghosts.
Otherwise known as Fideli's apartment.
And here is Beyond Ghosts with a little history
Tony
about the
Fideli
Central
was
Terminal.
The first private owner of the terminal. And what he did was, he loved this place so much, he tried, gotta catch my breath, excuse me. Whew. Okay, I gotta stop smoking. Fideli was the first private owner of the Central Terminal. He loved this place so much, he bought it outright, and he wanted to turn it into an event center. So, and he would rent out the concourse for like street hockey tournaments, different events, balls, dances, whatever. Unfortunately, and he would use this as his base of operations. We are currently sitting in
Ghost.
Who's going off already?
Yes, me, us.
Okay. We are currently sitting in his living room right now. This is Fideli's living room. And right over here, see if I can shine my light. Right over here, this was his office where he would actually had a countertop business that he would run out of here. And over here is where he would bring guests and businessmen where he would do his business deals. And again, this is his living room. And then I'll actually go ahead and take a tour through here. So.
You can sign and walk back with you.
I don't even smoke anymore. I'm still. So like I said previously, this was actually his office. This is where he would conduct a lot of business. It was uncommonly mistaken as his bedroom. Unfortunately, that is not true. And we've actually since been able to reopen the majority of his apartment recently due to works from the Central Terminal. And these guys have been working tirelessly around the clock to try to get at least this floor ready for us. So like I said, if we didn't have the corrugated glass here, you could actually see a gorgeous view of the Buffalo City skyline. And then coming through here, this is gonna sound really kitschy and really touristy, but coming through here and on your right, or my right, your left, would be actually his bathroom here. I don't know. I know, right? And yes, we did have to put glass up there because people were being stupid and trying to get on the floor there even after I told them not to. And this area here was actually his kitchen. When Fideli would have events here, or he would have any sort of company, it was known that Fideli loved to entertain. He loved to actually have people come in. He would actually cook for them. One of the reports is that people would come walking through here, and they would actually smell fresh cooked pasta. I don't know why. I don't know if there's any Italian restaurants that are around here. But for whatever reason, people would smell fresh cooked pasta in this area. And then going through here, I don't know if you're going to smell it now. Thankfully, most of that's gone. At least on this floor. So you got mostly everyone?
Not, just about half.
Okay. I'll wait.
Mr. Finelli, are you here? Are you with us? If you are, show us a sign. Can you make that door close?
So this area here, this is actually where Fideli did a majority of his entertaining. This was actually his living room area here. And as you can imagine, this whole area used to be covered in carpets. There's as you can see, a drop-down tile ceiling. He had, he had a pool table, he had an organ, and he had a big screen TV, which was considered big screen at the time. And he entertained anyone who would come up here. He would entertain. He had movie stars come up here. He had Burt Reynolds and Goldie Hawn up here when they were filming the movie Just Friends. Anyone ever remember that movie? Okay, good, because I don't either. Well before my time, unfortunately. And no, he would bring people up here. He had a bar right over in this area where he would make drinks for people, And obviously he chose this because of this, because of the gorgeous view he had. And it was kind of a dual purpose, because not only did he have a gorgeous view of the entire complex and the entire concourse, it was also for security purposes, where he did have a good view of the entire concourse. So he could see if anyone was coming in here or trespassing or whatnot, and he had first-hand view of everyone coming in here. Right over in that wall right over there, yes sir, that is actually his bedroom, which we are currently working to restore. Unfortunately, it is still off limits to us. But there are random articles of Finelli's his presence that is still here. If you, right behind you, you take a look at the wall here. No, those are not Hugh Hefner's. Those are actually Mr. Fideli's pajamas that we found in one of his laundry rooms off on the down the floor here.
Needed to hit a light in order to work properly. This is Mr. Fideli's pajamas, I believe he said. There were times that it was so dark in the building that my IR camera had a hard time seeing anything beyond a few feet in front of it, as you can see. We spent a lot of time in what would have been Fideli's living room, where his pajamas were hanging on the wall, trying to communicate with his spirit if it was still there. We also tried singing Frank Sinatra as it was supposedly his favorite artist. It was also at this point where we caught a disembodied voice saying what appears to be no when we ask it if it wants us to leave. It's not cold, it's like right here.
If you want us to leave, tell me in this box that I'm holding in my hand. We're only going to be here for a couple more minutes. I promise.
Tell us anything that you'd like. You can always hear it later.
We also caught the following EVP when our investigator Kat asked if he was upset if she touched his shirt.
Mr. Fidelli, you're upset that I touched your shirt. Just trying to get a good vibe for you.
Even with enhancing the audio, we are unsure whether this disembodied voice says no or go. There was one last EVP that we were able to capture when all three of us sat down in what was Fideli's office and started talking about marble countertops.
Marble was really big back in. It was expensive, but if you notice the amount of marble that's down in the...
That's true.
In the downstairs, there's a lot of marble.
As you can hear, I was able to receive a direct response to when I said, "Yes, that's true." This voice in response, almost in a mocking tone, said, "Yes, I know that's true." Was that Mr. Fideli mocking me about marble countertops, or was it another voice of a person who has long been stuck here at the central terminal? Me and John then proceeded to another part of the central terminal, what would have been office buildings back in its glory. No, well, I don't know if we can actually go in, but no. It's so dark that even my IR lights aren't picking it up.
Probably should have a voice going too.
Go down this very long, creepy hallway. There are reports of a little boy that is said to roam these hallways.
My name is John. Just come on a visit and say hi. You don't get a lot of visitors. I think it's boring for a little kid, you know? You see this big white box in my hand? Can you talk to me? You can come right up to it. I'll stand still. You come on, I'm not going to hurt you. You can talk to me. I have a little boy too, his name is Skylar. Do you have any friends? I want to be your friend. Would that be cool? See this other light in my hand? If you walk up to it, you can make the lights go orange and red if you wave your hand in front of it.
Wow, it is pitch black.
Just follow me. We're going to go walking. Just keep on following us. And if there's anybody other than Carmel or Zachary, feel free to say hi as well. We'd love to know what your name is. Do you like when people come visit you? Or do you want to be left all alone?
So just so you folks know, don't go past this door, because I got some motion lights set up. Anyone have any equipment they want to set up anyway? These lights. These lights is better.
Is there anybody in here? back of your camera, like you're here, can you move something?
Yeah, this place is amazing.
You can feel the people though, all the years they keep coming to work each day, sitting there in their offices, doing their thing. Haven't gotten a lot with the kitchen area here today.
You know, people always ask me, it's like, Phil, what's the best piece of equipment you ever bought to use for paranormal investigating?
Uh-huh.
The stool.
Oh,
The
the
stool.
That's awesome.
So then you gotta sit there for hours.
It's actually really good, yeah.
Well, yeah.
And they all sit on the floor outside there.
So, best $25 I ever spent for doing an investigating.
It's totally is. Camping store, an outdoor store.
Yeah. So is there anybody down here? I know a couple of years ago there was someone down here who helped me out. I'm hoping they're also down here still. I know there's been a couple times where you opened that door up for me. I'm hoping you can do the same for me again. Now, as usual, I have some devices laid out on the floor. I have a flashlight down there. That's all you got to do is you can knock that over, or you can even, if you want, you can even kick that right back down here to me. But I have multiple devices, and all they do is just light up. They make some sounds. They just let us know you're here. Or if you want to, you can also bang on that door like you have before. Are we perhaps talking to Michael? Mr. Michael, are you here? I know you're not a fan of my friend Chris, but I just want to give you the heads up. He's here tonight too. And temperature's fluctuating. And barometric pressure just dropped as well. Okay. That's usually a good sign. If you're here, can you please go ahead and touch one of the white boxes, one of the white lights that I have on the floor? I have one in the doorway over here to my right, and there's one just a little further down. All you have to do is wave your hand in front of them or touch them, or even kick them. You don't even have to work. Just go ahead, kick them, and they'll just turn on. So you guys have done paranormal investigating before?
Yeah, I am actually running a group.
Oh, that's whereabouts you guys run out of?
Buffalo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Been to any other places?
This is actually our first in a while, but May 18th we're going to the Hinsdale House.
Cool.
This will be my second time there.
Go ahead, talk to Ed. He's one of the guys who works down there.
Yeah.
Ed was hello. Who's down there? Or are they shining lights in the?
I think they're shining lights from over here.
Or are they shining them from upstairs and they're catching through the elevator?
That could be too.
Yeah. There's a lot of activity going on here, so if you're here, make your presence known, do something big. Can you make a noise of talking to one of the boxes in our hands?
I don't know if I'm going crazy, but right by the back, the wall, there was I seen legs walking. So.
Okay.
We then proceeded with the group to what would be known as the basement of the central terminal.
Okay, good. Or actually not. You know, when you came driving up, you went up on an incline. This is actually street level here. This was actually built after the terminal was open for a couple of years. Buffalo Transit Authority decided it would be a good idea to start building trolley cars to provide extra transportation to get to the terminal. Well, unfortunately, that was stopped. Construction was stopped there because the gentleman who was in charge of the Van Dyke Taxi Company had strict rights, and he had sole proprietor rights to provide transportation to and from the terminal here. So, and unfortunately, the man who was in charge also had ties with the mafia. So he had construction stopped. And he also said that if he catches any outside taxi companies here or outside drivers here, that person was pulled from their car, beaten up, tossed back in their car, and they had their car towed to the scrapyard. The terminal personnel, they called the gentleman's bluff, and he had construction stopped here. And unfortunately, this place never saw any of the general public. Or I should say, the general public never saw this place down here. Right above us used to be actually a giant chandelier that was once again strip mined from Mr. Thomas Telesco when he had the rights here. The reason you see all around here, these all used to be storefronts and restaurants and additional dining areas. Well, unfortunately, that never took place. The only people who saw this were the terminal workers who would actually park in the car garage over to my left here. So they would actually park over here, and then they would come up these stairs, or they would go to the elevators, which are behind the stairs, and go up to their floors. Another thing that this was used for was for clandestine transport. You would have prisoners being transported through here on their way to get onto the train. They would bring the buses, pull them in the garage here. They would bring the prisoners through here and bring them right to the train, so they would never see the general public. That was for security, basically for security and safety purposes, because they didn't want the general public knowing that there were prisoners being transported to trains. This is also down here when, in 1989, when Mr. Thomas Telesco abandoned the property. This is one of the places that was left open the most. And you feel how cool it is down here now. Well, a lot of people would come in here thinking that they were seeking shelter from the harsh Buffalo winter, when in fact, they were coming down here and they were freezing to death, because this area was actually about 20 degrees colder than the outside temperature. So, but we've had a couple reports from Buffalo PD coming in and saying that they found dead bodies here of homeless people. Again, I'm not sure if that's just a hoax and them trying to scare us. Again, it can't be proven because there are actually no reported deaths or actual officially reported deaths here on the property. However, activity that we get down here, we do have reports of a large shadow figure lurking somewhere in this hallway over here to the right. We also have voices. We believe that there is a homeless gentleman who is down here who likes to get in contact with us by the name of Percy. And he, every now and then, when you come down here, you might see a cigarette on the table, because Percy did enjoy the cigarettes. Every now and then, there might even be a bottle of booze as a peace offering to say thank you for talking with us. Because we like to use what we call trigger objects. And what a trigger object does is it'll actually help promote good communication with the spirit. Because if you use something that they are familiar with or something that they enjoy and like, it actually helps to bring them out and bring them forward and make them feel more at peace, so they'll come out and chat with us more. So, what time is it actually? 10:30? And we are here until 11. So unfortunately, down here we're cutting time a little bit short down here, only because it is such a confined space. But usually it's never very disappointing down here. So with that being said, I'm actually going to go ahead and set up some equipment up there, because we do get a little bit of activity going on up there. Mr. Ed, you're going to go ahead and do your thing down here. I got
After explaining some of the history to the group, we then proceeded to attempt a portal session.
Say help us.
Alright, you're just gonna say his name, and say it very loud and powerfully.
Can you tell me how many people are in here? How many people in here? It said 13, right?
3. You brought dowsing rounds.
You know how to use them? You don't know how to use them?
No. Spirits can manipulate them by moving them around because you hold them in your hand. But the handles are in like a circular case thing, so they can freely move.
Hey, Phil. Are you able to say what?
Before a kid, I wanted to do like that was a process. We're trying to say, Janice.
Yes, honey, right here.
You got one?
Yes, I got mine right here.
Everybody had see y'all want to get the quote the same.
See that shadow figure back there? That's, Alright, everybody who's got rods,
After the portal session, we decided to do a group dowsing rod session.
Yes, so this line is just for the people that have the rods. Get out of the line. Yeah.
You got yours too, Phil?
I have a whistle.
Come on down, let's on the first street.
Now, everybody that's using your rods, you have to remember that you are in control and you are in charge of it. Can you bring my rods forward, please? Yeah, right now it's not happening. Bring my rods forward, please. Completely forward. I know that you're aggravated right now. We would like to try an experiment. Can you cross all of our rods in the center? Keep going, completely in the center. Can you get the person on the left of me? Fantastic. Put the rods in the center. Yeah. As soon as they put your rods in the center. Please put my rods in the center.
I just have to say that I am somewhat skeptical of dowsing rod sessions when I am not the one that is using the dowsing rods.
Once they do, ask the person next to you to do the same. Is everybody's rods crossed or under my glasses on so I can't see? Is that Amy again? Ask Amy to tell them to put to cross the rods in the center. Tell me to bring it back and cross them. Don't look at me cross it. Where are you going? Does anybody else feel that pull? That very strong pull? Pulling towards you. Yeah.
I just want to know if it will be a while.
The red hot or one of the meters in front of me, because everything seems to be centering in front of me. Is everybody's rods crossed? Did they cross? Bring my rod across back, please. Thank you. Now, can you bring all of our rods out at the same time? Point them all forward. Completely forward. Is everybody that's doing it? Going to the left. Ask them to bring them forward. Take control of the situation. Forward for me. Now to the left. Bring them back. No, bring them forward, please. Just keep on control of my control. Please bring them forward for me. Now I'm going to ask a question. Who in this group is the person that you want to communicate with? Everybody point your rods, or point the rods bring all the rods completely straight, please. Bring them straight. Both of them completely straight. You need to step back so you can hold them straight. Everybody, ask your own question to them and have them respond. If anybody in front of me or after me, can you please cross the road? Why are you pointing at me? Thank you. Are we aggravated again? Because I was going to cross the road. Bring my last straight forward. Cross the tips of the rods to show me how many of you are here with us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Are you just pulling everybody in here? If so, separate my rods completely. Do not let them hit me though. Bring them forward again. Completely forward. If the energy of this line is attracting everybody here, bring both your rods to my left. And do so with the woman who's standing on the left of me. Bring her rods to the left. Completely to the left, both of them. Keep it going. Can you bring my rods and her rods back forward? If you would like us to keep communicating, bring my rods to the right, and the woman standing to the right of me, bring her rods to the right. Both of them. Now bring her rods to the right. Don't hit me. Bring that top rod back over. Bring both of her rods to the right. to say goodbye now. We have to move on. All right, everybody drop. Drop. Anybody else on the line know that charge? A little bit, yes, no, 'cause I can't see without glasses on. Yeah.
You don't know if you're going to get anything that day, unfortunately. Sometimes it's a lot, sometimes it's not so much. But at least you got to look at it this way. You're in the Buffalo Central Terminal, one of the most iconic and historic places in Western New York. And while we're up here, I am going to give you just a little bit more history, since this is the main focal point of the entire terminal. So right up in here, once again, the terminal was essentially started to be built in 1926, and it was completed in 1929 by the New York Central Railroad. And the reason why they wanted to build the New York Central Railroad here was because this is the exact halfway point between Chicago and New York City. They wanted to put one in the 1800s, but Buffalo, being Buffalo, and we all know how Buffalo is, said, no, we are not going to have one, absolutely not, until they finally caved in 1926 and started construction. Like I said, it was completed within the 1929. Anyone know what happened in 1929?
Stock market crash.
Yes. Thank you, both of you. Yes, the Great Depression, stock market crashed. So unfortunately, even though this was supposed to be a very grand and elaborate place, unfortunately, because of the stock market crashing, there was not that much activity here going on. However, as soon as the stock market, anyone know what eventually cured the stock market?
World War II.
World War II, thank you. So once World War II kicked in, this rail and train was still the most prominent mode of transportation. So being here, and again, being the halfway point between Buffalo or New York City and Chicago, there would be a lot of traffic with soldiers coming through here. And that caused a lot of sorrow, a lot of heartbreak, but there was also a lot of joy and a lot of reunions that happened here. You know, one of the theories of paranormal activity is wherever there is an increased amount of human emotion, such as points of travel, hospitals, hotels, anywhere where there's a heightened level of emotion, it's usually said to hold and manifest more supernatural activity, because basically when a person experiences that level of joy or emotion, they're said to leave an imprint of themselves. So that's why we believe that there's a lot of residual activities happening here. And one of the main points is, again, with this clock, because whenever people would be traveling, there was two places that they would say to meet. You'd meet either at the clock or at the Buffalo. Now this clock, this is actually the original clock from when it opened in 1929. It was unfortunately sold and moved when Mr. Thomas Telesco had sold it off, and we happened to find it in a pawn shop in 2001, I believe. And we bought it back when we talked to the owner, and he says, can we please purchase our clock back? And he says, absolutely, for $12,000. So we ended up raising the money, and we got our clock back. And again, 3 out of the 4 faces are original. And if you look at the top, see that green bulb up there? It's actually a method of communication. Remember when I told you that downstairs we would use that for prisoner transport? That green bulb, whenever they would actually have prisoners coming through, they would turn the bulb red. And that would be a message for any of the workers here to say, listen up, there's an emergency, or there's supposed to be heightened security going on. For whatever reason, they would always use that as a method of communication with the people that worked here, so that it's not to alert the general public and to cause a panic. One of the other places that the people would say they would want to meet would be at the Buffalo, right over here. So actually, let's go head over to the Buffalo, and I'll tell you some more stories. This is my favorite part. So when the Buffalo Central Terminal opened up, did you need an extra light to help?
Yeah.
Okay. When the Buffalo Central Terminal opened up, they needed a mascot. And the Buffalo Museum of Science helped out with that, where they actually provided a stuffed taxidermy buffalo. Not only as a mascot, but also for advertisement. And basically that was to say, if you have come in, you have a few hours to come in between trains, why not take a Van Dyke taxi, come on down Buffalo Central or Buffalo Museum of Science, kill a few hours. Well, and it stayed here right up until about 1950, I believe. The reason why the Buffalo Museum of Science decided to take it back was because the original buffalo, who we all affectionately named Stuffy was starting to get a little scruffy. Because when World War II happened and soldiers would come through here, they wanted to take a piece of home with them while they were away. So what they would end up doing is they would come by the buffalo, pluck a piece of hair, either from the hind end or his beard at the moment, and he would pluck, they would pluck that fur and take that with them. So Stuffy started to get scruffy. My grandfather was one of the soldiers during World War II that actually plucked a tuft of fur. We happened to find it when unfortunately he passed away, and we were going through some of his World War II mementos, that's a kind of a cool little thing that I love to bring here. But anyways, going back to Stuffy, again, this is not, you can tell this is not the original buffalo. Stuffy the original was taken back by the Buffalo Museum of Science, and then we received a bronze painted plaster buffalo as the mascot from the 1950s right up until about 1986. That buffalo was destroyed by Mr. Thomas Telesco. When he came and strip mined everything, as I said, downstairs, there was a chandelier downstairs. There was also chandeliers on either end. Right, there's one right above us and one at the other end over there. Well, when Mr. Telesco was taking everything apart and selling it for scrap, he actually dropped the one over here and completely shattered and destroyed it. So he figured he still has one more. So he backed the cherry picker up to grab this one. But unfortunately, in the process, he backed the cherry picker up, knocking this buffalo over. So we were buffalo-less until about 2001. Do you remember early 2000s where we had the Heard About Buffalo campaign, where all those funky, funny-colored buffalo would show up throughout the entire city? Mm-hmm. Thanks to Muhlenberg Betts, they actually donated their buffalo to us. And they said, you need a buffalo here. So they actually donated it, and we got their funky Jerry Garcia psychedelic painted buffalo.
This one?
Mm-hmm. And then we thankfully painted him back to his original colors. So this is Stuffy V3. Paranormal activity that likes to happen around here. We'll get a lot of residual EVPs or residual activity happening right around the buffalo and around the flock. We'll get EVPs and voice phenomenon over in the baggage claim. There is actually said to be a lot of K2 and electromagnetic activity happening over by the baggage claim area.
Oh, it is. It was there last time.
And we even have an EVP, a voice recording of one of our investigators over by the ticket counter. And they had asked, can I get a ticket to Chicago? And over the recording, you can hear a voice in the background, quarters, please. So I wish I still had that recording to show you guys, but couple things. Usually there's some residual stuff over in the liquor store over here.
What happened to the little girl? I remember last time I was here, I went in there and I went by the window and I pinched her. So here's a little girl that's there. She must have been Over here?
Oh, in the liquor store? I know in the liquor store, there's actually there's a gentleman that's in there when he used to run it. Back in the very early days, it was actually considered improper for women to be in the liquor store. So whenever we would have our female investigators or female guests go in, you would always get some activity that would focus around the females, and then it would subside when they left. So there's not a whole lot there. Baggage claim area. That's where on the show Ghost Hunters, Jason and Grant caught a lot of K2 activity over there. They were talking with what they call the lady in white.
We only had a few other personal experiences the rest of the time we were at this Buffalo Central Terminal, but the voices we caught on our recorders let us know that there is something definitely still around at the Buffalo Central Terminal.